the doors be open. Que l'on ouvre les portes. Alors, order.
Order.
Members, déclaration de député, l'honorable député de Joliette.
The Honourable Member for Joliette. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We discovered this morning in the Journal de Montréal that the government has entered into a tax information sharing agreement with the Cook Islands, a tax haven in the Pacific. It looks innocent enough, sharing information. Everyone's in favor of that, avoiding fraud, but it's a sham. The deal is not just an information sharing deal. It's an invitation for companies tempted to use the Cook Islands to avoid paying tax here at home. In other words, the Cook Islands are the 24th member of the select club of tax havens that the government has given a free pass to. The government keeps saying that they're fighting tax evasion. But how? By legalizing fraud through treaties. This government exempts all those who take advantage of these secret deals that are disguised as tax-sharing information deals. And it's ordinary people who pay twice because the bankers have taken off with the till. Enough with the hide-and-seek secrecy. It's time to unmask this government that serves Bay Street multimillionaires.
Congratulations to Ryan Richard and the other organizers for the very first Canadian Two-Spirited Powwow celebrated in Winnipeg last Friday. It is incredible to see how Indigenous peoples are returning to traditions and teachings which demonstrate the strength of our heritage. The organizers and the hundreds who participated showed honesty, humility, courage, respect, love, effort, and knowledge. And I'm a proud supporter of Winnipeg Pride. I was asked by the women and families at the powwow to talk about the murdered and missing Indigenous women's and girls inquiry and to mention that we all must be inclusive of all peoples, including Two-Spirited people, for they are a part of us. The Two-Spirited people were traditionally seen to be a connection between men and women and had a greater connection to the spirit world, Mr. Speaker. They were and are a mirror into our souls. Tapwe akikitwam hai hai.
Honourable Member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, this week is Tourism Week. Canada's tourism industry is an important economic driver. It helps create jobs and grow the economy. This week is a chance to celebrate Canada's natural beauty, events, and vibrant cultures. From coast to coast to coast, Canada has so much to showcase. But today, I'd like to highlight Edmonton. For one thing, Edmonton is truly a festival city. In fact, we have so many festivals, they're hard to keep track of. Dozens of them. There's the Fringe Festival, the Folk Festival, the Street Performers Festival, the Heritage Festival, and let's not forget the granddaddy of Edmonton festivals, K-Days. It's centered in my north side riding of Edmonton-Griesbach. I'd like to invite everybody to Edmonton this summer for our festivals, our attractions, and our warm hospitality. Come for the fun, leave with great memories.
The Honourable Member for Alfred Palan. Mr. Speaker, on June 1st, it's the beginning of Italian Heritage Month. On this occasion, I'd like to salute my fellow citizens of Italian origin from Alfred Palan and all across the country.
Our parents came to this land with nothing but their strong will and rich values, and they managed to build a respectable place for their community. They understood that the power of a community is much greater than that of an individual. It is our duty to preserve their efforts and come together to rejuvenate the associations they put in place, to look back at the path of hope and prosperity they traced, and to make it flourish with a spirit of togetherness. Honor to the roots and respect to this land of opportunities. That is the duty we must live up to in order to preserve the extraordinary heritage of our roots. Faccio un appello alla comunità italiana ad unirsi e lavorare insieme per il beneficio di tutti. Grazie. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-Neigette-Témiscouata-Les-Basques. A giant has left us. Rosanna Saint-Cyr is no longer with us. Actor Nicole Leblanc died last week, leaving an indelible mark in the history of Quebec television. The main role she played in Le Temps d'une Paix, with its viewership of over 3 million viewers, the role was that of a strong woman at a time when most women played self-effacing or submissive women. In the theatre, Nicole Leblanc was in the original Les Belles Sœurs by Michel Tremblay, which was a revolutionary play in Quebec theatre's modern history. She started in Trois Pistoles in the late 90s, playing in La Maudite Machine, and then she joined the Caveau Theatre. She also adopted the Des Basques region for her well-deserved retirement because she lived in Saint-François for a number of years. To her friends and family, my sincerest condolences. All Quebec thanks you for lending us this exceptional woman.
Honourable member for West Vancouver, Sunshine Coast, Sea to Sky Country.
It's Tourism Week and Canada 150 is right around the corner. Supernatural British Columbia is the best place to start your celebrations. Cypress Provincial Park in West Vancouver is home of the first downhill skiing in Vancouver and host of the Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games. Visit the historic Hollyburn Lodge and explore the trails that wind all over the slopes that hover above the city of Vancouver. Head north for half an hour on the famous Sea to Sky Highway to Squamish, the outdoor recreation capital of the world, and the Stommimus Chief, the second largest granite monolith in the world. The rock climbing is second to none, and this place of great spiritual significance for the Squamish Nation is truly humbling. Howe Sound lies at the foot of these mountains, a spectacular marine environment for sports, tourism, and abundant and resurgent biodiversity. These wild spaces are for us to respect, protect, and share. Please experience Canada's West Coast wilderness.
Bravo. The Honourable member for Calgary Confederation.
Mr. Speaker, we've waited for over a year for the federal government's framework on Lyme disease. There are thousands of sick Canadians awaiting the necessary funding for testing and treatment, waiting for the medical system to be able to diagnose and treat their illness, wondering if they are passing Lyme disease on to their partners. Millions wondering if they can safely give and receive blood in Canada. The framework and its many lines of platitudes provide no clear targets for measurable success. There are no new ideas, no deadlines for achieving anything. The $4 million in funding is wholly inadequate to make any real difference given the size of this problem. It fails to even mention the major concerns like human-to-human transmission and blood supply risks. Painful. In short, the government has wasted a full year and spent untold sums of money to produce a report that is embarrassingly scant, unfocused, and frankly disappointing. Canadians expect much better.
The Honourable member for King Vaughan.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to commemorate Italian National Day, Festa della Repubblica. After the Second World War and the fall of fascism, on June 2, 1946, Italians held a referendum to determine their desired form of government, either a republic or a monarchy. The Italian people voted for a republic, and ever since, Italians around the world have celebrated Republic Day. 7 anni le Italiani du Canada.
This year, Italian Canadians have one more reason to celebrate.
I'm proud to say that my Motion 64 declaring June as National Italian Heritage Month recently passed unanimously in this House. This motion acknowledges the government's recognition of the contributions that Italian Canadians have made to our society. Please join me on June the 2nd in wishing all those of Italian descent Buona Festa della Repubblica.
The Honourable member for Nickel Belt.
Thanks.
Mr. Speaker, tourism is critical for job creation and is an important economic driver for Canada, and I want to recognize during Tourism Week. I invite all Canadians to come to Greater Sudbury, Nickel Belt to experience the wonders. Northern Ontario's best attraction is the great outdoors, and I am proud to say it's been recognized by the United Nations with its massive regreening efforts following decades of natural resource activity. Since 1978, over 18 million trees have been planted throughout the region, restoring the land to its original beauty. En tant que chef de marketing,
as the House of Commons chief tourism marketer for the most beautiful riding in Canada, Nickel Belt, not Nickelback, I invite Canadians to join me in celebrating Tourism Week in Canada by experiencing an amazing journey, fabulous fishing and hunting, extensive hiking and biking trails, and the best camping and campfire you've ever experienced in the beautiful region I call home. Thank you.
Dufferin Culloden.
Each year, Canadians recognize June as ALS Awareness Month. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis is a rapidly progressive fatal motor neuron disease that leaves those affected in a state of progressive paralysis but with full possession of their mental faculties. In 2005, my father succumbed to ALS after a 4-year fight, so it's affected me personally. And of course, all members witnessed the courage of our late colleague, Muriel Boulanger, during his battle with his terrible disease. Each year at this time, friends, family, and supporters dedicate their time and energy to raise awareness for a treatment and a cure. In dozens of communities across this country, the Walk for ALS is taking place to help raise funds for critical research and support. I encourage every member to wear a cornflower to demonstrate our support in the fight against ALS so that together we can support victims and families and promote research to find a cure.
Hear, hear. L'honorable député de Miramichi-Grand Lake.
Member for Miramichi-Grand Lake.
This summer marks the 60th anniversary of the Miramichi Folk Song Festival, the longest-running festival in Canada. This event features authentic, traditional, contemporary music for the whole family to enjoy. Ce festival légendaire a été fondé.
This legendary festival, the purpose of it was to give folkloric singers a chance to share their stories.
Will be honored by performers who will share their talents at the festival. From Natalie McMaster, Donald Leahy and family, to the Miramichi Fiddlers, there's truly something for everyone. I want to congratulate Festival Director Susan Butler and all those involved who worked tirelessly to ensure ongoing success of this important festival. I wish to invite you all to the beautiful riding of Miramichi-Grand Lake this August for the 60th Miramichi Folk Song Festival. It is sure to be a highlight of Canada 150's birthday. Thank you very much.
The honorable member for Northwest Territories.
Mr. Speaker, today the World Health Organization marks World No Tobacco Day. In Canada, tobacco is the leading cause of preventable death and disease, killing over 37,000 Canadians every year. Although the average smoking rate in Canada is 13%, our communities in the north experience rates of over 50% and some as high as 73%. This health inequity places enormous burden on families, communities, and the economy. With the renewal of the Canada's federal tobacco control strategy, we must seize the opportunity to strengthen it, to have greater impact on preventing and reducing tobacco use. We need proven measures that will discourage our youth from starting to smoke, such as plain packaging regulations, a national-wide ban on menthol cigarettes, and support for northern communities in the development and implementation of tobacco control projects. In recognition of World No Tobacco Day, Mr. Speaker, I say, butt out, everyone.
L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, I have the great pleasure today to pay tribute and to invite everyone in Lévis-Lotbinière to attend the play Comme dans le temps. Ms. Josée Naper, director and mastermind of the Dans le Temps theatre troupe, has taken on a monumental task with this creation, which will hopefully be one of many to mark Canada's 150th anniversary. I challenged Ms. Josée Naper, and she took me up on it, and I'm grateful to her. The musical comedy, Comme dans le temps, is a historical fresco that tells the story of a small regional municipality in 1867. The play is about two then-typical families, one French, one Irish, and their relationships with neighbors and the village priest, played by none other than myself, on a set designed with antique materials and pieces that will delight young and old. Don't miss it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Humber River, Black Creek.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize June as ALS Awareness Month, as my previous colleague has mentioned. Over 3,000 Canadians are currently living with ALS, and until recently, this included my dear friend and our colleague, Muriel Boulanger. Many members in this chamber remember how he bravely struggled against this brutal and unforgivable disease that ultimately took his life too quickly. In honor of Muriel and the thousands of Canadians who fought or are still fighting this faceless demon, I introduce my own private member's motion that increases our commitment to a comprehensive strategy for ALS research funding and awareness. I thank the members in this chamber for their support We have and we must continue making ALS a treatable and non-terminal disease. Thank you all very much.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, today I am recognizing Gina Barber, the 2017 recipient of the Agnes MacPhail Award. Since 1972, Gina has led the charge to advance the fight for social and economic justice in London. She has always been dedicated to improving the working conditions for women in education through her involvement in her union and women's advocacy groups, and has worked on every municipal, federal, and provincial campaign since 1979, usually as campaign manager and sometimes as candidate. She is a devoted advocate for a country in which no one is left behind. Gina continues to be active in London politics, acting as a mentor for young women, an advocate for seniors, and conducts a choir that produced such festive political hits as Donald the Trump Man to the tune of Frosty the Snowman. Mr. Speaker, Gina Barber is a dedicated citizen and a true New Democrat. It's my honor to recognize her tireless work and devotion to her community.
The honourable member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, this is the Muslim month of Ramadan. From now until June 24th, most of the world's 1.6 billion Muslims will be observing Ramadan, when they will fast every day from dawn to sunset. For the people of Islamic faith, Ramadan is a time of deep spiritual awakening prayers, increased charity, and generosity. The Canadian Muslim community represents the tremendous diversity that exists within Islam, incorporating Sunni, Shia, Ismailis, Ahmadiyas, and many others drawn from every corner of the globe. Canadian Muslims are making valuable contributions to every aspect of our society. Canada is a more vibrant, prosperous, and energetic country thanks to the contributions of the Muslim Canadians. So, Mr. Speaker, on the 6th day of the Muslim Holy Month, on behalf of all my Conservative colleagues, I say to our Muslim Canadian friends, Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you.
The honourable member for Ajax.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sure I join all members of this House in extending my thoughts and prayers to those impacted by the cowardly attack near the diplomatic corridor in Kabul last night. This heinous act that has claimed the lives of at least 80 people and injured hundreds of others ripped our hearts. Our thoughts today are with the frontline workers and families of the victims. That this attack occurred during the holy month of Ramadan, a time of reflection, empathy, and compassion, shows the true depravity of this craven action. Targeting civilians and foreign service workers, people who today and every day show the utmost resolve and courage in their work, demonstrates a vile and most contemptible evil. Canada, with our international partners, will never cease in our efforts to prevent violent extremism, bring perpetrators of such violence to justice, and support peace in Afghanistan. Our hearts go out to those impacted by this tragedy, and to them we extend our unyielding resolve.
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable leader of the opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is not going to fight for industry that creates good jobs for Canadians. But he has no trouble imposing an infrastructure bank, a $35 billion bank that will be used by Parliament to fill his Liberal buddies' pockets. Why would this Prime Minister rather help his friends than help all Canadians? When will he finally get his priorities straight?
Well, Mr. Speaker, yesterday I met with two ministers from Premier Brad Wall's government willing to partner with us under the infrastructure bank to build the transmission of infrastructure that promise requires. Because they understand that by mobilizing the private capital through the infrastructure bank, they can free up their own resources to build more affordable housing, to build more transit system, to provide clean water for their communities, to build more recreational cultural infrastructure that their communities need. That is exactly what we want to do, Mr. Speaker. Thank
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, either the Prime Minister doesn't understand how his own bank works or he's afraid to come clean with Canadian taxpayers. The Liberals' own documents show that the bank works on the assumption that taxpayers will cover losses for private investors. So I want to ask the Prime Minister a very simple question. If the builder or the investor can't pay that loan back, as often happens, who gets stuck with the bill?
The Honourable Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
I want to assure the honourable member and this House that the bank will only undertake projects that are in the public interest and will not invest in risky projects, and rigorous due diligence will be done by the bank, by the investors, by the municipalities, by the provinces and the federal government. The experts that will run this bank will make sure that taxpayer dollars are always protected, that public interest at the forefront of decision making. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, if they're only going to pick projects that will never lose money, then why won't those private investors back them themselves? Now, the Liberal logic is actually quite simple. Liberals will handpick projects and they'll handpick the investors. And they admit that the bank is all about de-risking projects for private investors. That means that investors get all the profit and taxpayers get all the risk. Can the Prime Minister explain to hardworking Canadians why he's asking them to co-sign loan for the richest 1%?
Honourable Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the Canadian Pension Fund Investment Board, OMERS, teachers, Caisse de Dépôt, Alberta Investment Management Corporation, they all invest in foreign infrastructure, in international infrastructure. What is wrong, Mr. Speaker, if the same organization allow us work with our government to build the infrastructure that our Canadian communities need? For a decade, this government, the previous government, underfunded infrastructure for municipalities. Now we are catching up. We are making historic investments. We want to mobilize private capital to build more
Order, 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 order. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, it's incredible to see that the Liberals have completely blurred the line between the independence of agents of Parliament and partisan politics. They can go on all they want about Madeleine Meilleur's resume, but she's a donor to the Liberal Party, and she should have been left out of the process. What will be the next partisan appointment from this Prime Minister? Will they look at the Liberal donor list when they need to find the next Ethics Commissioner? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, we are committed to finding the best person to be the official languages commissioner, and that's exactly what we did. The skills, the experience, the professionalism, the qualification, the integrity of Madeleine Meilleur has been recognized throughout her career, and she has been fighting for linguistic rights across this country for many years. Why? She protected the Montfort Hospital to guarantee health care in French in Ottawa. She participated in the creation of the French Languages Services Commissioner position in Ontario. That's why she's going to be our next, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Is so broken that one of Canada's most notorious serial killers is now volunteering at a school. As a father, I cannot imagine the horror of listening to my children come home and tell me that they just spent the day with Karla Homolka. It's sick. When will the Prime Minister close this loophole that's allowing this to happen?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the system that is in place for doing vulnerable sector checks is a system that makes sure that employers and those that organize volunteers and runs schools and churches have access to information to make sure they make informed and prudent decisions. That is the system, Mr. Speaker, that is in place today, and it was in place similarly under the previous government.
The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Madame Mayor.
Madame Mayor admitted that she participated in inappropriate meetings with Gerald Butts and Katie Telford, the Prime Minister's top advisors, and that outside of the official appointment process. Yesterday, the NDP called for a committee inquiry into the appointment process, and the Liberals immediately shut down the meeting. My question is simple. Will the Liberals block an inquiry into the Official Languages Commissioner appointment process? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, I have the opportunity now to explain the process that we followed with Madame Mayor's appointment. I've explained it many times in the last weeks. It was clear. 72 candidates applied, 12 people got interviews, and then 10 people undertook tests, and we checked their references, and finally I met with a short list of candidates. I've had the opportunity to speak with my two critics from across the way. The leader of the second opposition mentioned at that time that he recognized the qualifications and the experience of Madame Mayor. That's why we were convinced that we have the right person. The Honourable Member for Outremont.
Crock of nonsense. Madame Mayor told committee that she didn't know if she would be able to recuse herself from future investigations of the Prime Minister, to whom she directly donated. Well, we just learned that the interim commissioner has had to recuse herself from investigating whether the Prime Minister has violated the law during the appointment of Madame Mayor. So, how can Liberals explain appointing a commissioner who can't even investigate the Prime Minister?
Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
In line with a question that my colleague asked a bit earlier, I would like also to remind him that the committee of this House are independent.
Order. 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 The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage has the floor.
Thank you. And therefore, I would like to stress the experience and the expertise of Madame Mayor. She's been involved in the protection of the Montfort Hospital and the creation of the Office of the French Language Service Commissioner. She's been involved in the protection and promotion of official languages for 30 years. We know we have the right candidate, and I really hope this House and the Senate will support her candidacy. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Outremont. Order.
The Liberal, period.
The Liberals were elected to do politics differently, apparently. They weren't going to act like previous governments, saying one thing to get elected and then doing something completely different after the election. But now here we are, a few minutes away from a vote on our electoral system. Will the Liberal MPs prove that they have more credibility than their cynical leader? Will they stand up to keep their promise to change the electoral system? The Honourable Minister of Democratic Institutions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And once again today, I would like to thank the committee for its excellent work and all the members who participated in that committee. I would also like to say that it's curious that the party across the way wants to vote in favor of this report, a report that they were not in agreement with themselves. So soon the MPs will be voting, and I am confident that our government has made the right decision. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Quelle honte.
Shame, Mr. Speaker.
5 weeks after KPMG was ordered to maintain all records during an ongoing investigation, a group of offshore shell companies set up by KPMG went ahead and shredded documents related to that probe. This is the very definition of obstruction of justice. And then the Liberals blocked the investigation into KPMG. Must be another independent parliamentary committee of the Liberals. I'm curious, is there any way the Liberal front bench can twist obstruction of justice and sweetheart deals for crooked billionaires into support for the middle class?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, as we promised Canadians, our government is firmly committed to fighting tax evasion. And we are committed to ensuring that our tax system is fair for all Canadians. In the past year, we've invested $444 million. Order. I hear a lot of noise today. We need to hear not only the question, but also the answer. The Honourable Minister.
Banff Airdrie would do well to be quiet when I'm speaking. The Honourable Minister of National Revenue.
In the past year, we've invested $444 million, Mr. Speaker, and in the last budget for 2017, we invested $524 million. Our investments are already giving major results, Mr. Speaker. $13 billion that we've recovered over the last year. 122 Canadian taxpayers who were in the Panama Papers are being audited. Criminal investigations are already underway for certain taxpayers. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, in the $13 billion that they recovered, if they recoup the money that they recovered, they could have used that to fund an autism strategy in Canada, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the government told us that their new appointments process was whiter than snow, that everything would go well, that it would be transparent. Now the minister has told us that committees are independent. Did Madeleine Meilleur meet with members of the Prime Minister's office during the process? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. I would simply like to remind the House of the importance of the process. The process was based on the fact that we were going to find the best candidates available, and that's why 72 people participated. A selection committee was formed, made up in a majority of public servants. The members all had equal weight within the committee. And then an independent firm chose 12 candidates. 12 interviews were undertaken by the selection committee. Then 10 candidates had tests. The Honourable Member for Lac-Saint-Jean. No, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to go back to my question. If the committee is independent, why did Madame Meilleur meet with members of the Prime Minister's office? Madame Meilleur, in this independent and nonpartisan process, did she meet with members of the Prime Minister's office? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. I would like to clarify the fact that Mr. Telford and Ms. Butts never discussed the fact that she would become official languages commissioner with Madame Meilleur. Order. Order. I have a hard time hearing the answer.
Member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley and others, I'd appreciate if they keep quiet. Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Given that we have this exhaustive process and given that 10 candidates undertook tests and had their references checked, then I had the opportunity to hold interviews myself and see to what extent Madame Meilleur was the best candidate. Then I spoke with my two opposition critics from the Conservatives and the NDP. Both recognized the expertise, the professionalism, and the qualifications of Madame Meilleur. And that's why everyone agrees that she has the necessary qualifications for this job.
Innisfil.
That's funny, Mr. Speaker, because Madame Meilleur admitted at committee that she met with Butts and Telford. So clearly, the minister is saying that Madame Meilleur lied to committee. Listen, nobody believes
Madeleine Meilleur's objectives. She's a donor to the Liberal Party, given money to the Prime Minister's leadership campaign, and a former Liberal cabinet minister. The integrity of parliamentary watchdogs has been compromised by the Prime Minister and his partisan friends. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister put a stop to this and tell Canadians that his nominee for the Ethics Commissioner won't be a Liberal friend or donor?
Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to remind my colleagues that in context of this nomination, we wanted to find the right and perfect candidate, and that person needed to have the expertise in the context of defending official languages and official languages in this communities in this country. And since we are a government that value the importance of bilingualism, that value the importance of official languages, of course, we did a thorough and very merit-based process, and that's exactly what Mrs. Meyer went through, and that's why we have a very good and
The Honourable Member for Beauport, Côte de Beaupré, Île-d'Orléans, Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, 38 days before the Ethics Commissioner's mandate will end. 38 days, and we still don't know if the Liberals have started the process to fill that position. Given what's happened with Madeleine Meilleur and the Official Languages Commissioner job, we have to wonder if the process hasn't been rigged in advance. The Prime Minister, can he assure this House that this next appointment will be non-partisan and will not just be a cushy reward for yet another Liberal donor? The Honourable Government House Leader. We have put in place a new, open and transparent merit-based appointment process. Our goal is to identify candidates who are highly qualified and who respect the principle of parity between men and women who represent Canadian diversity. With our new process, we have made over 140 appointments. All of these positions are open and online, and I invite all Canadians to apply. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Milton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the Honourable Minister should check the facts and realize that the position that's posted closed on January 7. We've been waiting a very long time. The Ethics Commissioner has an unprecedented investigation into the Prime Minister's dealings. Her term is expiring in July, and there seems to be absolutely no rush to fill this role. Are we waiting to see how somebody's chat with Jerry and Katie go before we get somebody in this place? Mr. Speaker, we have seen no openness and no transparency in the other process. Why can we expect to see one here? Quite frankly, will the Prime Minister guarantee that?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Time and time again, we have put a new appointment process which supports an open, transparent, and merit-based selection process. I agree with the member that the work that the Conflict of Interest and Ethics Commissioner does is important work. The role that she has is an important role, just like there are many, and that's why we committed to Canadians to bring in a new process, a process in which allows Canadians to apply and to be able to be determined on a merit-based process. We are proud of that process, as are Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Milton.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister doesn't get it. The office of the Commissioner of Ethics belongs to Parliament, not to an appointments process. They are abdicating their responsibility to put somebody in place in order to ensure that we have ethics and conflict of interest guidelines in place. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm very serious. Do they have a response? Is this just going to be a list filled with Liberal donors, or we have a chance of having somebody responsible in this role?
Honourable Government House Leader.
As I have said, and I encourage the member to listen to the response. And so, I like the response, but there is a new process in place. It is open and transparent. It is merit-based.
Order. I'm sure all members are going to listen, I hope, to both questions and responses. That's what we're supposed to do here, because under Standing Order 16, we're not allowed to interrupt. So let's not do that. The Honourable House Leader wishes to complete her answer.
So we have a new open merit-based appointment process where Canadians can apply. All positions are available online, which actually allows Canadians to want to apply, look at what positions are open, exactly what we committed to Canadians we are delivering on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister got elected on a clear promise that we can all recite by heart, that 2015 would be the last election under first past the post. Very good. So when he betrayed this promise and said, it was my choice to make and I chose to make it, his awkward attempt to be strong showed himself to be just plain wrong. Newsflash, it's not up to him, it's up to Parliament and Parliament alone to make this decision. So will Liberals stand up to make every vote count, keep their promise to their constituents, or will they follow the terrible example set by this Prime Minister and betray their commitment to Canada?
Minister of Democratic Institutions.
And again, I want to repeat and thank all members in this House who participated in the Special Committee on Electoral Reform. I also want to reiterate that I tabled our government's response where we agreed with the majority of the recommendations on April 3rd. However, Mr. Speaker, I do find it curious that that member is asking us to fully endorse a report in which neither he nor his party fully endorsed. In fact, there is a supplementary dissenting report that they put forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Sherbrooke. Mr. Speaker, believe it or not, Canada will soon ratify another agreement to make something legal today that was illegal yesterday. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, just a few months ago, the Liberals supported our motion to fight tax havens. And today, they're ratifying yet another agreement with a tax haven. Ridiculous. Mr. Speaker, when the minister committed to reviewing our tax agreements, was this her plan, to sign more agreements with more tax havens? Was that her plan? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, our government is firmly committed to fighting tax evasion and abusive tax avoidance. In our last two budgets, Mr. Speaker, nearly $1 billion invested to fight tax avoidance. And we've seen historic results, Mr. Speaker. $13 billion that we recovered last year, including $1 billion under the Voluntary Disclosure Program. 122 Canadian taxpayers who were in the Panama Papers are being audited. Criminal investigations are underway, Mr. Speaker, for taxpayers in the Panama Papers. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, every day we see the weakness of this government's economic policy. Spending, and more spending, no economic growth. And what they're telling us is that they're going to stimulate the economy. What the government's doing isn't stimulating the economy. They're giving the economy a sedative, and it's bad for future generations. What will the government do to create jobs for young Canadian families? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, today is a very important day. We heard this morning that we have, in the first quarter for 2017, 3.7% growth. That's really good news. Our program is working, and with lower unemployment, and it's very important to know that unemployment is now at 6.5%. It was 7.2% at the beginning of our mandate. That's a major change, with over 250,000 full-time jobs created. I am proud of our economic situation. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, it's shameful because future generations are going to have to pay interest on the Canadian debt of $25 billion. It's $25 million a day. That's money that we don't have for social programs, and it's going to get worse because the debt is going up. We're trying to create riches on the backs of future generations. We need to stop doing that. When will the Finance Minister understand that the best way to grow the economy is to have smaller government, more freedom, and more prosperity? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, the facts are important. It's very clear that it's important for young people to have a job. So, with 250,000 more jobs, that's very important. These are full-time jobs. That's very important for the future of our country. That's the base. that will lead to economic growth that is higher in the future. It's already good. It's going to get even better in the future.
For Chilliwack HoC.
Mr. Speaker, earlier in question period, the Minister of Canadian Heritage claimed that habitual Liberal donor and now official language commissioner nominee had never met with Katie Telford or Gerald Butts. On May the 18th, at the Official Languages Committee, the Honourable Leader of the NDP asked, who in the Liberal Party did you speak to about wanting to become a senator or commissioner? Madame Mayor said, I spoke to Gerald Butts. Why did the Minister of Canadian Heritage call Madame Mayor a liar?
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
I would like to set the record straight, Mr. Speaker. I said that Mrs. Telford and Mr. Butts didn't discuss the nomination of Madame Mayor with her wanting to be the Official Languages Commissioner. And that's an important fact. And that being said, we have the right candidate. Her name is Madeleine Mayor. Every single stakeholder in the official languages community know that Mrs. Mayor has been involved for 30 years in the promotion and protection of their rights. And that's why we're very...
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack HoC.
Mr. Speaker, let's try it again. May 18th, Official Languages Committee, Honourable Leader of the NDP. Who in the Liberal Party did you speak to about wanting to become a senator or commissioner? Madame Mayor, the Liberal donor, now the recommended Official Languages Commissioner said, I spoke to Gerald Butts. Why did this minister mislead this House?
The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Order.
Mr. Speaker, Madeleine Mayor has been involved for 30 years in protection and promotion of official languages rights in the country. She was there at the beginning for the protection of the Montfort Hospital that was going to be closed by the Conservative government in Ontario. That's exactly what she did. And then afterwards, she started her political career.
Order. The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning and others will restrain themselves. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition also will restrain himself. I know he's tried to get the same thing to happen. We don't want people to lose questions. Order. 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 The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
She did public service 30 years, and she's been involved in the protection and promotion of official languages. She went through an entire process. Many candidates also participated in the process, and ultimately, she was the best.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Mr. Speaker, during the election, the Prime Minister promised British Columbians that Kinder Morgan would have to undergo a new environmental review. But that was then. Since, 2 hand-picked ministerial panels have shown the process is truly broken. And now, after getting votes from BC, the Prime Minister says that Harper's review process is just fine, thank you very much, and the project must go forward as it is. Why did the Liberals betray British Columbians, break their election promise, and approve the Kinder Morgan pipeline?
Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, the government approved the Trans Mountain Expansion Pipeline because we believe it's in the interests of Canada. It's in the interests of Canada because it will open up Alberta crude to export markets. The member probably knows that 99% of our exports now go to the United States. Perhaps he would agree that expanding that market is a good idea. Perhaps he'd also agree that 15,000 jobs is in the interests of British Columbians, Albertans, and all Canadians. And if he can't believe me, maybe he should talk to Rachel Notley.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver East.
We've just seen one of the horrors of Canada's so-called Safe Third Country agreement with the U.S. A woman's body was found in a ditch near the Canada-U.S. border. The woman is believed to be an asylum seeker trying to enter Canada. Under the agreement, asylum seekers from the U.S. are turned away from legal ports of entry, forcing them to take great risks. After 5 months and nearly 3,000 asylum seekers crossing the border, what else is this government waiting for? How many more tragedies do we need to see before this government suspends the agreement?
Honourable Minister of Immigration.
Mr. Speaker, we are aware of this tragic incident, and our condolences go out to the family and friends of the woman who lost her life. We understand deeply the extent to which people will go to seek protection for both themselves and their families, but we discourage strongly people to cross our borders irregularly. Canada is committed to offering protection and having a robust refugee program for those seeking protection from war and persecution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Scarborough Rouge Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, seasonal monsoon rains continue in Sri Lanka, and the country is facing the worst natural disaster since the 2004 tsunami. Death toll estimates are now in excess of 200, with many more missing and injured. International aid is required to support the victims. Can the Minister of International Development inform this House of the steps being taken by the Government of Canada to help in the response?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleague from Scarborough Rouge Park for his question. We are deeply concerned with the ongoing flooding in Sri Lanka, and our thoughts are with those affected. I can already announce an initial envelope of up to $250,000 to respond to the humanitarian impact of the flood. And obviously, we remain in close contact with our humanitarian partners. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Selkirk, Interlake Eastman.
Mr. Speaker, as you saw today, the Liberals are having trouble with the truth. And this morning, the Defence Minister suggested he would cancel the Liberals' plan to purchase 18 Super Hornets from Boeing because it's not a trusted partner. Wow. Now, the Defence Minister has already misled Canadians on multiple occasions, including his imaginary capability gap. He's made a complete mess of the replacement of our CF-18s. Now, the Liberals' plan to sole source Super Hornets has never worked and never will work. Will the Defence Minister stop playing politics with our troops and immediately hold an open and fair competition to replace our fighter jets?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, a decision will only be made unless we can find a solution within our timelines and to a solution that will offer good economic value for Canada. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs mentioned, Canada is looking at its procurement process regarding Boeing, or rather, Boeing. The government strongly disagrees with the decision of the Department of Trade of the United States that is whereby Boeing is asking for an investigation into anti-dumping. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Ontario. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Defence stated this morning that Boeing can no longer be considered a trusted partner. However, the Minister isn't saying if they're going to reconsider the procurement process. The Liberals held many meetings with Boeing, but how many meetings did it take for the Liberals to realize that Boeing was no longer a trusted partner? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, we know that we have an aging fleet. It is more than 30 years old. Up until now, the Canadian forces have been able to provide exceptional service. However, we cannot be in a situation of failing to provide the capacity needed to our Canadian citizens, to our partners at NATO, and that's why we're looking at a provisional fleet.
There is no capability gap. It's a Liberal credibility gap. After blindly committing to purchasing the Super Hornet, the Defence Minister is now accusing Boeing of being untrustworthy. But the Defence Minister has been crying wolf about his fabricated capability gap, and he's the one who is untrustworthy. The Liberals are using our Air Force as a political pawn in a trade war with the United States. What we need right now is a competitive process to get the best fighter jet for Canada. The Defence Minister is the architect of this complete political disaster. When will the Prime Minister find someone, anyone over there, who can clean up this mess.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Order, the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Order.
Mr. Speaker.
Order. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Canada-U.S. Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The aerospace industries of Canada and the United States are highly integrated and support good middle-class jobs on both sides of the border. We strongly disagree with the U.S. Department of Commerce's decision to initiate anti-dumping and countervailing duty investigations into imports of Canadian heavy civilian aircraft. This is clearly aimed at the Bombardier C-Series. Our government will continue to defend the aerospace industry, the workers, Bombardier, and our defence requirements. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Heritage confirmed earlier during question period that Ms. Meyer had met and discussed with Mr. Butts from the Prime Minister's office. I would like to know why the Minister is misleading the House. The Minister of Canadian Heritage. I would like to remind everyone of the importance of the appointment process for the Commissioner of Official Languages. The process was merit-based. It was open and transparent. This process was thoroughly explained. I hope that after the various explanations that have been provided, my colleagues will respect it. This is the first time that a government has truly explained the appointment process for an officer of Parliament. This process is entirely credible and reasonable. It follows established procedures, and we were able to find a highly skilled candidate for the position. The member for Saint-Lambert-Sur-Roi. Yesterday, during the marijuana debate, how many times did the Liberals talk about prevention? None, until I asked them about it. How many times is the word prevention used in the bill? None. Mr. Speaker, the Cannabis Task Force, provinces, stakeholders on the ground, and now teachers have all stated the need for a prevention and education campaign. But the federal government is doing absolutely nothing to offer them financial support. The Liberal plan? 6 cents a person per year. That's the government strategy to lead us to believe that it understands the urgency of protecting youth? The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for the question, and I thank her for her emphasis on a public health approach to the introduction, the legalization of cannabis and a strict regulatory regime. She understands the fact that a public health approach means making sure that we maximize education and minimize harm. And in fact, to that end, we have already started with a $9.6 million public education campaign. We will continue to build the resources to have a strong campaign to make sure that young people are protected. We keep cannabis out of the hands of kids and the profits out of the hands of criminals.
Yes, member. Honourable member for Windsor West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The OPG just released another report to try and justify their dangerous plan to bury and abandon nuclear waste next to the Great Lakes. These lakes are already under threat and attack by President Trump. They are a fragile ecosystem. The government has a duty to protect them. They are our freshwater source and home to a $1 trillion industry. The U.S. Congress and Senate oppose this plan. Over 200 municipalities oppose this plan. Environmentalists, hunters, and anglers all advise to reject this plan. So who is the Liberals' advisor on this? Homer J. Simpson?
Honourable Minister of Environment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our government is committed to ensuring environmental risks linked to development are addressed before projects proceed. After considering the Joint Review Panel's report on February 18, 2016, I requested that OPG, the proponent of the Deep Geological Repository project, provide additional information about possible alternative sites before making an environmental assessment decision. A final decision will be made based on science, evidence, and public input.
Member for Wellington, Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, I want to give the Heritage Minister another chance. She said that stakeholder groups fully support the process. Well, the Quebec Community Groups Network, the representative anglophones in the province of Quebec, and la Fédération des communautés francophones et acadiennes both have said that they have concerns with the process by which the government has proposed the new official languages commissioner. Will the government and the minister admit that the process is flawed and commit to restarting this process?
Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, in the context of finding the official languages commissioner, we did a thorough process. And this process I had the chance to explain to my colleagues many times. Now, we know that the candidate that came out of this thorough, merit-based process is a good candidate. She's a woman that has been involved in the protection and promotion of official languages for the past 30 years. Her knowledge of the field and her passion for official languages is uncommitted. And therefore, we know we have the right candidate.
Member for Wellington Halton Hills.
Mr. Speaker, two major stakeholder groups representing Francophone linguistic minority communities in Acadia and throughout this country and Anglophones in the province of Quebec have voiced concerns about the process. Last January, the Prime Minister refused to uphold the spirit of the Official Languages Act by refusing to respond to an Anglophone in Quebec in English. And now they've failed to consult with leaders of the recognized parties here in the House of Commons and the Senate before coming forward with this nomination. This process is flawed. The government lacks respect for the Official Languages Act. When will they restart this process and give us a real nomination?
Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, our official languages are a priority for our government, and my colleague gives me an opportunity to talk about what we've done in terms of official languages in the past 18 months after an inaction on the part of the Conservative government on this particular file. We reinstituted Francophone immigration services. We made sure to give university accreditation to the Collège Militaire de Saint-Jean. We made sure to appoint a bilingual justice from Newfoundland to the Supreme Court. We've done many things. I'm working right now on a future plan on official languages.
The Honourable Member for Richmond Arthabaska. Mr. Speaker, it's really not easy to follow what's going on in this House. This government and the Minister of Heritage keep telling us that the process to appoint the Official Languages Commissioner is neutral and has no political link. And yet, the candidates selected come from the pool of Liberal donors. We've learned that Ms. Mayer, before the Official Languages Committee, spoke with Jerry Butts. She said that she's never spoken with Mr. Butts, and on the other hand, that she did speak with him. I will give her a chance. Did she speak with him or not? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage. Mr. Speaker, we found an excellent candidate, Ms. Mayer. I've talked a lot about protecting Montfort Hospital in Ottawa, but also about creating within the Ontario government the equivalent of the Francophone Commissioner, which is the equivalent to the Official Languages Commissioner. She has all the skills necessary to ensure the impartiality, knowledge, and scope of this position.
Mr. Speaker, during the Standing Committee on Citizenship and Immigration Study of Family Reunification, we heard from many witnesses that the 2-year conditional permanent residence for sponsored spouses is a serious problem. It is leading spouses, particularly women, to stay in abusive relationships for fear of jeopardizing their immigration status, afraid to report the abuse to authorities. Could the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship tell the House what his department is doing to support the spouses?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member of Scarborough Centre for that question. This measure that was introduced by the Conservatives in 2012 put vulnerable spouses, especially women, at the risk of abuse and violence. I'm proud of the fact that we've gotten rid of this measure and eliminated it completely. The Conservatives refused to listen and ignored the advice of women's rights advocates as well as newcomers themselves who continually denounced this measure. As a government, Mr. Speaker, we're committed to gender equality and the combating of gender-based violence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Justice continues to sit on her hands with a near record number of judicial vacancies. Meanwhile, another day and another murder case thrown out of court, this time in Montreal, and all the minister can do is pat herself on the back. The minister's indifference to this crisis is nothing short of appalling, and the minister's inaction is nothing short of negligent. How many more victims are going to be denied justice because of this minister's negligence?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm fine to stand up to talk about the open and transparent appointments process that we've instituted for judges in the superior courts across the country. I'm going to continue to add to the 67 appointments.
Order. The honourable member for St. Albert Edmonton, I'm sure, wants to hear the answer to his question, so I've asked him to buy it. The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am going to continue to add to the 67 appointments that I've made to superior courts across the country. In the province of Quebec, to which the member opposite references, there is less than 1% vacancies in the superior courts. There are many reasons for delays. It is a shared responsibility between the federal government and the provinces and territories, and we are acting on addressing.
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie. If the Infrastructure Privatization Bank were to become a Crown Corporation, let us recall the issue with Canada Post and its decision about community mailboxes. We were told that the provinces were consulted, and yet the Legislative Assembly asked for the future bank to respect Quebec's laws. As soon. That's great consultation. That's great success. The minister just seems to be saying anything. What will the 40 Quebec Liberals do to make sure that they will defend Quebec's laws?
Minister of Infrastructure and Communities.
Mr. Speaker, the bank is being set up with the same legal structure as many other Crown corporations. Any project that will invest in will be required to follow all provincial, territorial, and municipal laws. We respect the jurisdiction of our provinces. We are investing historic amount of money. We're tripling our investments to build the infrastructure that is required by our municipalities, that is required by our provinces, and we do that in cooperation, in collaboration with our provincial and territorial partners.
The honourable member for Madawaska-Restigouche. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canadians who have disabilities have to face challenges every day that prevent them from fully participating in events in their workplace and communities. To reduce those obstacles, we need to ensure equal chances for everyone. Everyone deserves to be able to participate fairly. The Minister for Sport and Handicapped Persons, will she describe the measures that have been implemented to reduce obstacles to accessibility? The Honourable Minister. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, rather. I would like to thank the member from Madawaska-Restigouche for his question. This week is Accessibility Week. It intends to celebrate and to highlight and promote inclusion and accessibility throughout Canada. We invite all those who could be eligible to present a funding request within the context of access to the Accessibility Fund.
Once more, Canadians with disabilities who face challenge every day to participate fully in their communities and the economy. That's why we have increased our investment in the program to over $80 million. The historic investment will remove barriers for many Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Brandon Souris.
Ms. Melior, in testimony, Mr. Speaker, on May the 18th said she'd talked to Gerald Butts about being a senator or a commissioner. Today in the House, the minister claimed that never happened. So, Mr. Speaker, will the minister now apologize for misleading the House?
Honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, the position of the opposition is strange. If they condemn Mrs. Meilleur for having been involved in the public service for 30 years, would they equally condemn the fact that the former Conservative Prime Minister Kim Campbell was in charge of a nomination process for the Supreme Court? If we both value public service, of course, we're able to recognize that we need to have the right expertise and experience. And that's why Mrs. Meyer is the perfect.
Order. The honourable member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to clarify, the committee report on electoral reform did not contain any dissent from the NDP and the Greens. We filed a supplemental report in support of the recommendations. And in support of those recommendations, within the hour, I'm certainly hoping that many MPs, in fact most of us, will vote to support that recommendation of the report so that we can continue to have a conversation. We've never had the conversation to find common ground. Common ground is within our reach if we agree to keep working towards it. Will the minister agree?
Honourable Minister, Democratic Institution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and of course I would like to thank my honourable colleague for the hard work that she put into the report. The report is thorough and extensive, and I look forward to working with members in this place on many of the things with regards to making voting more accessible, with regards to getting youth involved in politics, with regards to political financing, with regards to fundraising, and of course with regards to cybersecurity. There are many things that matter to all of us in this place when it comes to improving, strengthening, and protecting our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I would like to draw to the attention of honourable members the presence in the gallery of Mr. Saber Chowdhury, President of the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Comme il est 15 heures, l'honorable député.
It being 3 p.m. A member on a point of order. Earlier, the Heritage Minister said that the final list, the short list for official languages commissioner was 10 names long. If I understood correctly, Ms. Mayer must have been on it. There must have been other names too. Could we see that short list? Could we see who the 10 finalists were for the position of official languages commissioner? That's a matter of debate, not a point of order. It being 3:15, the honourable member for Outremont on a point of order. Mr. Speaker, I in turn have to rise on a point of order. Earlier, the Heritage Minister implied that Ms. Mayer never admitted speaking to Gerald Butts about an appointment as commissioner. As her testimony proves clearly, she did speak to Gerald Butts